Everyone uses from time to time such expressions as, a thought pops up, an idea comes from the blue, or dawns, or comes as though out of a dream, or it suddenly hit me. These are various ways of describing a common experience. The breakthrough of ideas from some depth below the level of awareness. I shall call this realm the unconscious as a catch-all for the subconscious, preconscious, and other dimensions below awareness. When I use the phrase the unconscious, I of course mean it as a shorthand. There is no such thing as the unconscious. It is rather unconscious dimensions or aspects or sources of experience. I define this unconscious as the potentialities for awareness or action which the individual cannot or will not actualize. These potentialities are the source of what can be called free creativity. The exploration of unconscious phenomena has a fascinating relationship to creativity. What are the nature and characteristics of the creativity that has its source in these unconscious depths of personality? 1. I wish to begin our exploration of this topic by relating an incident from my own experience. When I was a graduate student doing research on the meaning of anxiety, I studied anxiety in a group of unmarried mothers, that is, pregnant young women in their late teens and early 20s in a shelter home in New York City. I had a good, sound hypothesis on anxiety, approved by my professors and approved by me, that the predisposition toward anxiety in individuals would be proportionate to the degree to which they had been rejected by their mothers. In psychoanalysis and psychology, this had been a generally accepted hypothesis. I assumed the anxiety of people like these young women would be cued off by the anxiety-creating situation of being unwed and pregnant, and I could then study more openly the original source of their anxiety, namely, the maternal rejection. Now, I discovered that half the young women fitted my hypothesis beautifully, but the other half did not fit it at all. This latter group included young women from Harlem and the Lower East Side who had been radically rejected by their mothers. One of them, whom I shall call Helen, was from a family of 12 children whose mother drove them out of the house on the first day of summer to stay with their father, the caretaker of a barge that went up and down the Hudson River. Helen was pregnant by her father. At the time she was in the shelter, he was in Sing Sing on a charge of rape by Helen's older sister. Like the other young women of this group, Helen would say to me, "We have troubles, but we don't worry." This was a very curious thing to me, and I had a hard time believing the data. But the facts seemed clear. As far as I could tell by the Rorschach, TAT, and other tests I used, these radically rejected young women did not carry any unusual degree of anxiety. Forced out of the house by their mothers, they simply made their friends among other youngsters on the street. Hence, there was not the predisposition to anxiety we would have expected according to what we know in psychology. How could this be? Had the rejected young women who had not experienced anxiety become hardened, apathetic, so that they did not feel the rejection? The answer to that seemed clearly no.